quite honestly, when I woke up this morning, I had no idea what day it was, and I couldn't care less. Right now, we are at the lowest point in Australia. Coming out of Coober Pedy, and this is the turn off to William Creek. So this is pretty much where the outback starts for us. About 165 kilometers of gravel road from here onwards. It's going to be corrugations all the way, so it's going to be a bit rough going. So I'm going to drop my tire pressures to make it a little bit more comfortable on ourselves as well as on the cars. So I keep all my quick access spare parts and tire gauges and so on here. I'm going to use this and try and drop my tire pressures, and use this if I need to double check what I've done. What you see over there, that's part of the dog fence. What happened was, many years ago, farmers had problems with dingoes. They're like wild dogs coming as they felt like it and killing livestock, killing them. So that was a big problem for farmers. So what happened was, all farmers got together and put up a fence to keep the dingoes out. And eventually, by the time the farmers, each and every farmer had put up this fence, this became the longest dog fence in the world. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it stretches close to about 3,000 kilometers across most of Australia. So this is part of the dog fence that was put up. It's still maintained and pretty much keeps the dingoes out. Here in this part of our trip on the William Creek trek, there's absolutely not a single tree. It's just little shrubs, tiny little ones actually, but there's not a single tree. Look. People still came out here 200-300 years ago, and then not to mention the indigenous people of Australia, the Aborigines, thousands of years ago, and they survived out here. Something else I need to mention is we are actually now driving through the largest cattle station, as we call it here in Australia, cattle ranches in some countries, the largest in the world. It's called Anna Creek, and it is the largest cattle station in the world, and that's what we are driving through right now. We just arrived at William Creek, which was 165 kilometers from Coober Pedy. And William Creek is approximately halfway along the famous Untitled track. Now, once William Creek was a bustling railway siding during the old Garn railway track days. Today, William Creek survives purely on tourism, mainly the overlanding tourists, and I'm told it has a population of 6 humans and a dog. One of the quirks of outback towns, you get things like this. It was never meant to be here, but somebody obviously brought it. And in fact, here it says, donated by the city of Melbourne. So somebody brought it all the way from Melbourne and planted it here. It's definitely expired. The main attraction in William Creek is the William Creek Hotel, which is a pub, a typical outback pub, which I love going into. As you walk in, it's got its own unique charm and character. Officially, it's been a pub since 1932. That's when they got their pub license or liquor license. But history has it that it's been around for a lot longer. Very common sight in outback pubs is memorabilia left behind by travelers. So people leave behind all sorts of things. Their caps, business cards. And I believe at one time, and I've seen this in other pubs as well, people had left behind their underwears. Men and women both had left their underwears behind. Like here you'll see a boot, but people had left behind their underwears until the health inspector came around and wasn't too happy about it, so I believe they had to take it down. So we're going to head out from here to Lake Eyre, a place called Halligan Point. We decided not to stay here but get to Lake Eyre. Maybe it's a little lot more scenic we expect. On our way to Lake Eyre, it's called Halligan Point, but on the way I wanted to stop at this particular place for a particular reason. Let me show you what it is. In 1998 December, as you can see from the date, which was definitely the height of summer. It gets a lot hotter than winter times. This German couple came down to Australia, hired a 4x4, had very little experience, or almost none, in off-roading and use of 4x4s, and on their way to Lake Eyre, which is in that direction, which we're heading to, the vehicle got stuck. I think it was about 5 kilometers up the road from what I can remember. Got stuck, they couldn't get themselves out, they were completely ill-prepared, they had no recovery gear, and the sad part was they didn't even know how to engage 4x4, because in some vehicles like mine, you need to lock the hubs. Even though you engage 4x4, you still need to lock the hubs, and they apparently didn't know how to do that. So Eventually, with hardly anyone else coming along the track, she decided to walk. In the height of summer, she walked, and then eventually, when she got to this spot, she collapsed and died of dehydration. Her partner, who in the meantime stayed in the vehicle, eventually when the search parties got to him, he was still alright. There was water in the car, I believe, so he was alright. But sadly, Caroline passed away at this location, so I just stopped to pay my respects. It's also a harsh reality of the outback. If you have to be completely prepared and ready to be self-sufficient in case you get stranded, because as you can see, we've been driving on this track for the past 1.5 hours and we're yet to come across another vehicle. If I don't look at my phone, I wouldn't know what day it is. Quite honestly, when I woke up this morning, I had no idea what day it was, and I couldn't care less, because this is what it's all about. Love this. I really love this. Not a single sound. So this is the southern part of Lake Eyre, and right now we are at the lowest point in Australia. It's 12.5 meters below sea level. This is the lowest point in Australia. Similar to Death Valley in the US, you could say. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And it's an enormous salt lake, but you know, occasionally it floods. It drains, and it's got an enormous basin underneath. I believe the basin is about the size of 1.5 million square kilometers.